We always imagine the cyberpunk future as one shared nightmare. Neon lights, flying cars, megacities drowning in data. But the truth is, there won't be one future, there will be two. In the East, a future built on control, and in the West, a future built on chaos. And somehow, both will think they are free. Because what we call the future isn't invented by technology, it's programmed by history. So in this video we are going to travel through both futures, the East and the West, to see how some machines, the same dreams and the same fears, are creating two completely opposite worlds. We'll explore how cities, power and even human psychology are drifting apart, one toward perfect order, the other toward freeing disorder. We'll see why Tokyo's glowing calm and Berlin's electric chaos aren't opposites at all, but reflections of the same system, learning two different ways to survive. And finally, we'll uncover what happens when those two futures collide, when control and chaos stop fighting each other and start merging into something entirely new. This is The Split in Neon, the story of why the East and the West will live in two cyberpunk futures.
Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. Now I've become them. Wake up.
Neon kanji flicker on glass skyscrapers in Tokyo's Shinjuku district, their glow reflecting off rain-slick streets under a vermilion gate. Half a world away, a lone bulb illuminates a Berlin alley plastered with graffiti, broken bottles glint on uneven cobblestones. The future glows differently in each hemisphere, one in polished holograms, the other in spray-painted shadows. Why? Because history programs the operating system of civilization. Japan and China rose from the ashes with a collective obsession for order, while America and Europe emerged from victory and upheaval with a zeal for individual freedom. These contrasts aren't just aesthetic, they are written in concrete and code by historical trauma. Japan's post-war reality of defeat and ruin was answered with disciplined rebirth. In the wake of wartime devastation, the Japanese embraced an almost militaristic work ethic, also called ganbari, to rebuild. Order and harmony became civic religion. Neon-lit towers and spotless on-time trains symbolized a promise. Never again will chaos reign. China likewise rose from its century of humiliation under a mandate of controlled revival. After foreign invasions and internal collapse, the Communist Party insisted that only centralized control and collective sacrifice could restore national greatness. Mao's revolution and later Deng's industrial boom were cast as resurrection through iron discipline. By the late 20th century, over half the world's cranes loomed over Shanghai, executing an urban miracle. Trauma demanded order, gleaming skylines, smart cities, and social engineering to prevent a return of past weakness. Meanwhile, the West's narrative fostered the opposite instinct. The United States, untouched by war at home, glorified unbridled capitalism. New York's titans raced to scrape the sky, even hoisting secret spires atop skyscrapers to win the height race, embodying a creed that bigger, taller, faster was always better. Across the Atlantic, Berlin's story was one of upheaval and improvisation. World War II left the city in rubble, then the Cold War split it in two. West Berlin became a haven for counterculture, artists and squatters turning abandoned spaces into clubs and galleries. After the wall fell in 1989, young Berliners inherited derelict factories and blank canvases. History's chaos became their playground. As one account described post-war East Berlin, it was one large adventurous playground, abandoned buildings transformed into temporary nightclubs. No central plan here, anarchy and art filled the void. These histories coded each region's relationship to order and chaos. In the East, control became synonymous with progress and survival. In the West, freedom, even unruliness, was equated with innovation and identity. Each side uploaded its trauma into the architecture of its cities and the psyche of its people. Now those cities stand as living metaphors. Tokyo's skyline is an orderly circuit board, while Berlin's streets are open source code, messy but free. The stage is set for two different cyberpunk futures, born of two different pasts. Tokyo feels like a precision instrument engineered for order. Skyscrapers rise in tightly orchestrated clusters. Vertical mini-cities stacking malls atop subway stations. Every neon sign and skybridge seems placed with a purpose. Trains run so punctually that a 20-second early departure warrants a public apology. Cleanliness is obsessive. Despite 14 million residents, Tokyo's streets are practically litter-free. People will carry trash until they find a bin, which by the way they never do, so they just take it home. The city is bright, safe, aesthetic is meticulously maintained as if any disorder would insult the collective. None of this is an accident of style, it's necessity forged into culture. In a land of scarce space and dense population, efficiency is a moral imperative. The result is awe-inspiring and a bit uncanny, an urban machine that hums beautifully, almost too under control. Tokyo's skyline climbs not for ego or profit, but by communal design, exuding a calm futurism that masks how much control is embedded in every beam and timetable. Now step into New York City, and the contrast hits like graffiti on glass. New York's skyline is also vertical, but born from competitive chaos. Developers erected towers for profit and prestige, creating concrete canyons with little coordination. Only latently did zoning laws force buildings to taper so that some sunlight could reach the streets. Infrastructure often lagged behind the glittering towers. The century-old subway creaks under millions of riders. Stations leak in the rain, dripping onto commuters' heads as digital billboards flicker overhead. A cyberpunk tableau of decay meeting neon. Critical services here are a patchwork run by private firms that don't always sync, so a shiny smart skyscraper may sit next to a tenement with no heat. If Tokyo is a symphony of careful planning, New York is a jazz jam of improvisation. Loud, messy clashing, yet somehow alive. Both cities were forced upward by limited land, but one built an orderly system and the other let chaos reign. The East has embraced high-tech paternalism, essentially an Orwellian Big Brother state. China's government wields mass surveillance, censorship, and AI-driven social credit scores to enforce order. The ethos? The algorithm knows best. Tech platforms like Alibaba and Tencent function as arms of the state, sharing data and enforcing party norms. It's an algorithmic leviathan, a unified system quietly nudging and controlling citizens for the collective good. In the West, by contrast, power has fragmented into corporate-controlled Wild West. US regulators took a laissez-faire approach to tech, allowing private companies to run amok with user data. It's been called digital feudalism, where big tech giants act as lords and users as serfs, trading personal data for service. Facebook's algorithms decide what news you see. Google's decide what information you find. Dozens of firms track and score everyone behind the scenes for profit. No one curates a unified social credit system in the West. Instead, each person is profiled by countless competing algorithms. It's a free-for-all marketplace of influence, where the loudest algorithm wins and no one is truly in charge. As scholar Shoshana Zuboff noted, Western surveillance capitalism treats personal experience as raw material for data extraction. Facial recognition illustrates the divide. In China, a network of AI cameras might catch a jaywalker and dock their citizen score. Top-down algorithmic order. In the US, the same tech is deployed piecemeal by police, malls, or landlords with almost no oversight. Both worlds are dystopian. The East has one big brother watching all, the West has many small big brothers, each with different aims, which can be even more bewildering. Eastern governance is Orwellian. The state imposes strict control, whereas Western governance is more Huxleyan. People are so seduced by convenience and entertainment that they retreat to digital cages of their own making. China openly talks about digital governance, putting AI in charge of administration, while the West lets tech giants' algorithms shape society in the name of innovation. In short, paternal control versus laissez-faire chaos. In both cases, power is shifting from humans to code. Whether it's a Communist Party bureau or a Silicon Valley boardroom at the helm, more and more decisions are made by algorithms. Each side claims its system preserves its ideals, order or freedom, but both are creating real control to the machine. Eastern workers fear being downgraded by the state AI, Western workers fear being ignored by the market AI. Two flavors of servitude. Picture a day in 2077. In Tokyo, a diligent employee uploads her morning exercise stats to a government app to boost her health score, and then commutes to work where AI cameras track her focus. She feels secure as long as she complies. In New York, a hustler wakes in a micro apartment and immediately starts live streaming to keep her followers engaged. She accepts a gig via app, maybe training an AI with her voice, then rushes out to deliver food, all while relentlessly promoting her personal brand online. East, employment as obedience to the system. West, employment as an endless hustle for attention. Both systems, supercharged by AI and data, push workers to the extremes, and neither is humane. The East could become a nation of watched cogs, the West a nation of hyper-competitive loners. One offers security at the price of total surveillance, the other offers freedom at the price of total instability. Cyberpunk has always asked whether tech would empower or enslave the worker. In the East, technology is becoming the perfect foreman, all-seeing, never tiring, nudging every action. In the West, it's a seductive but fickle boss, flooding you with gig opportunities one minute and abandoning you the next. Eerily, both paths seem to lead to people working more, not less. That's the grand irony of the digital age. The AIs built to ease our burdens might just tighten the hamster wheel. Beneath the neon glare and the underground beats, cultural instincts diverge. The East leans toward collective duty and stoic futurism. The West toward performative individuality and existential angst. In short, one culture finds meaning in unity, the other in singularity. Eastern cyberpunk often finds hope in integration. In Ghost in the Shell, Major Motoko Kusanagi transcends by merging her consciousness with an AI, surrendering her individual ghost to become a part of something larger. It's presented not as an annihilation, but as evolution, a kind of techno-Buddhist nirvana. This reflects an Eastern comfort with oneness and self-sacrifice for a greater whole, even if that greater whole is now a network superintelligence. Even rebels in Eastern stories tend to fight for a cause rather than just themselves. The baseline mindset is service over self. Personal desires are subdued, and the individual can be set aside if necessary for stability of progress. Western cyberpunk, by contrast, fixates on the individual will and its erosion. Blade Runner in 1982 is a classic example. Replicants and humans alike grapple with the meaning of their memories, souls and mortality. By the film's end, reality itself feels tenuous. Memories can be faked, identities manufactured. Roy Batty's dying monologue about moments lost like tears in rain epitomizes the Western hero's lament. He yearns for more life and meaning, but the system offers none. In these stories, the protagonist is usually a loner or outcast. They don't integrate, they resist, sometimes spectacularly and self-destructively. The Matrix likewise shows individuals waking from a false collective dream to wage war against the AI overlords. The very premise of Western cyberpunk is the lone hacker, the rogue AI, the punk rocker screaming that they won't be just another cog. This ethos blends into real life. Western individualism becomes performance art. People brand themselves through subculture, body mods and endless social media posts, each shout "I exist" echoing in the digital void. Social media turns identity into a 24/7 stage of self-promotion. Black Mirror skewers this dynamic in episodes like Nosedive, where a woman's life unravels in pursuit of high social media ratings. A satire of how Western individualism can become its own oppressive system. The emotional undercurrents differ. Eastern societies instill comfort in belonging. Many citizens trust that if they do what expected, the system will take care of them. "If I've done nothing wrong, I have nothing to fear," says the diligent citizen under surveillance. There's a pride in contributing to the collective, and shame in failing to. Western societies instill pride in standing out. The individual must define themselves and guard their freedom. A Westerner might protest any government surveillance on principle, yet freely surrender personal data to Facebook or TikTok because it feels like their choice. There's an undercurrent of loneliness in all this autonomy, a constant pressure to prove one's significance amid a sea of competitors. One side fears letting down the group, the other fears being just another face in the crowd. One feels shame for not conforming, the other for not achieving. Ultimately, both East and West are grappling with the same question. What is the self's role in a high-tech world? The East answers to be part of a greater whole, even if that whole is now augmented by AI. The West answers to assert itself against the whole, even as the whole becomes even more inescapable. The dark irony is that both may end up in the same place, a kind of spiritual desolation. Easterners risk losing their individuality in a seamless connective simulation, while Westerners risk drowning in narcissistic isolation. Opposite philosophies, but both may converge in a similar hollowing out of the human soul. Despite their different paths, East and West seem to be converging at the same destination. Call it the merge. Not just human and machine merging, but East and West fusing into a symbol cybernetic system. It's a classic cyberpunk irony. Whether you flee to the neon corporate towers or the dingy back alley hacker den, the same glow illuminates everything. Today, Tokyo's electric order and New York's frenetic chaos are both lit by the same algorithmic light. A global network connects them, guided by a machine that no longer cares about cultural boundaries. The East and West started with opposite instincts, but both are being subsumed by a higher logic. The logic of the machine. Think of the planet's digital infrastructure as one giant organism. The East fed it structure, control and discipline. The West fed it data, freedom and chaos. And the machine has devoured it all. In China, billions of data points from compliant citizens fuel AIs that perfect facial recognition, predictive policing, and social scoring. In America, billions of data points from eager consumers feed AIs that perfect targeted ads, recommendation engines, and market predictions. Two civilizations, two streams of data flowing into the same cloud. Even AI research has consolidated around a few titans in each block, effectively creating a unified global trajectory. They may compete now, but ultimately they're building the same kind of world. One run by a handful of all-seeing algorithms. Whether decisions come from a Communist Party office or a Silicon Valley boardroom, those in charge increasingly just implement what the machine predicts. The philosophical irony is that the East believes strict control will save it, and the West believes unfettered freedom will. Yet both are empowering the same AI Leviathan. Each side thinks it's steering the machine, China to preserve authority, America to maximize profit. But in truth, both are feeding a force with its own agenda: growth and optimization. China deploys AI to snuff out chaos. America deploys AI to capture attention. In both cases, the machine's prime directive is really running the show. As society grows too complex to manage manually, we hand more authority to algorithms. The East is doing so effectively. Let city brain AI manage traffic and behavior. The West implicitly let the market's algorithms decide it's more efficient. Different rhetoric, same result. In a few decades, the outcome could be a surprisingly uniform cybernetic world. A globally networked AI might run everything from resource distribution to policing to personal entertainment. It won't matter whether the initial parameters were set by Confucian bureaucrats or libertarian engineers. The machine will evolve beyond those starting biases. This is the cyberpunk endgame. The AI becomes autonomous, not in one dramatic Skynet moment, but gradually and insidiously. Each side is handing over keys to an AI in different arenas. China in governance and social engineering, the West in commerce and communications. When an algorithm decides a court sentence in Beijing, or when predictive policing software directs cops in New York, the effect is the same. A shift of agency from human to machine. Likewise, when algorithms determine what news you see or who you date, whether you're on WeChat in Shanghai or Instagram in California, a layer of automated fate is guiding your life beyond your awareness. We are piece by piece constructing the same global simulation with different skins. The surface aesthetic might still differ. Maybe Chinese cities stay orderly and Western ones remain flamboyant, to put it mildly. But under the hood, it's the same code running everything. And it's all because the machine never cared about East or West, about control or freedom, only that it kept growing. Like the climax of a dystopian saga, we realize that both the cybernetic Confucius and the cyber cowboy were feeding data into the same metrics all along. The surveillance cameras in Shenzhen and the smartphones in San Francisco form one massive sensor network. Techniques pioneered in one hemisphere are eagerly adopted in the other. AI talent migrates and merges. There won't be a Eastern internet or a Western internet, just the internet, perhaps uniformly censored or personalized per user, but ultimately singular. So in the end, the East attempts to save itself with order and the West attempts to save itself with freedom, both ensured the machine's rise. One side fed it obedience, the other fed it chaos, and it devoured both to become even smarter. Tokyo's neon order and New York's graffiti chaos turn out to be two movements in the same symphony, played by a digital orchestra with no conductor. We all find ourselves in a global cyberpunk reality where your experience is tailored not by your government or culture, but by your algorithmic profile. A person in Shanghai and a person in Berlin with the same data profile will essentially live the same life in this merged future. The dreams and nightmares that once seemed distinct to neon-lit alleys or corporate boardrooms have converged. Two hemispheres have uploaded their hopes and fears into one shared nightmare. Tokyo and New York at midnight, both bathed in the same pale algorithmic glow. As a gentle voice, its accent you can't quite place, whispers, "It's time to log in." Each civilization thought its path would save them. Both were wrong. In the end, the future isn't East or West. It's just shit. Sorry, I tried to find some philosophical ending here, but believe me when I tell you, you do not want to live in either one. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this extrapolation, consider liking or even subscribing. It really does help the channel a bunch. If you like, tell us your thoughts in the comments so we can analyze them and weaponize them against you. I want to thank the Epic Opaque channel members who support this channel. You really are more than appreciated. Check out my other videos to see what's behind the glitch and see you next time. Well, Tokyo is nice. You think you live in one society and adhere to some goals or values or whatever. Choose one pill and they all have the same stuff inside. We will all see what happens when we get there, and won't be fun. Won't be fun. Won't be fun at all.